a lot that's happened in the last couple months. Obviously, you've got unbelievable tragedy and unbelievable highs and lows and different things that's come along with it. But overall, I'm just proud of our team and how they've held it together and done a great job of going through those ups and downs. And the fact that we were able to hold a recruiting class together and all those different things. It's to me a credit to number one Mississippi State, our locker room, and just really the people around this entire organization.
How kind of, I mean, I know you're talking about the whirlwind of emotions, but I mean, you got to have some great feelings in there in terms of getting a chance, calling plays in the ReliaQuest Bowl. You got leading the team to a win, retained by the staff in such a prominent role. I mean, how eager are you to kind of get started with that and really get the wheels rolling?
Yeah, we've got started already. It's that's kind of a dual question as well. I mean, there's some bittersweetness to it, obviously, because you never want that to occur and the promotion being that way, but it happens, or it did happen, and so you have to make the best of it. So yeah, going to that bowl game, that was a great opportunity for me. Ultimately, our players did a great job of executing. They did a great job of playing hard and fighting through adversity just like they have all year long. So it comes down to them, number one. And as far as being eager to start, yeah, we're already getting going. We're out there with them yesterday morning early, and then we're going through the typical self-scout process that you always do. And so just excited to get back out there with them and get back to work.
What was this whole kind of process like? Like, when did you realize that you might be getting the job, and when that opportunity was presented itself, how easy of a choice was that with Zach? Because you probably know him better than anyone.
Yeah, I think there was a natural camaraderie there with Zach and I. We see things pretty similar when it comes to defensive football and philosophy, and so that part of it was easy. As far as the decision, it was easy. My family, my wife, my two kids, we love it here. We love living in Starkville. We love Mississippi State. The locker room that we have here, we enjoy those guys and the players that we have in this program. So, yeah, it was a real easy choice in that regard for sure. Statistics, I mean, you get the number one and number two tackler in the SEC. That's a pretty good starting point. Jaden Crumedy, obviously, it's kind of a freak deal, the fact that we're able to get him back because of an unfortunate situation that occurred in fall camp. But, Jaden's unbelievable at the line of scrimmage, and you could see a significant difference in how we play the run up front when he came back late in the year. So those three pieces up front are a really good foundation to build off of.
Yeah, you return a lot up front, but you did lose, I believe, 4 starters in the secondary, but you brought in a lot of players through the transfer portal. I guess what kind of stood out to some of the guys that you brought in?
I mean, number one, you're always trying to find enough athleticism to hold up, and especially the style of defense we're going to play in that area. And so we tried to do that through the portal. We'll get to see if those guys show up and do what we need them to do, and that's our job to coach them. It's our job to accept that role and that challenge, and we're excited about that.
How confident are you in Zach Arnett, the head of football coach? What makes you confident that he is ready for this big opportunity?
Yeah, I'm extremely confident. I mean, I'm actually kind of twisted a little bit. Coach Leach, okay, his track record of guys that have been under him that have become head coaches, it's a pretty good list, right? Okay, and I actually think a big reason that is because the way he sets up his organization, when he hires you, he hires self-starters, and he allows you to do your job. And so Zach, on the defensive side of the ball up to this point, he's essentially been the head coach just on the defensive side, right? He's the head coach of the defense. And so there's some natural transition there. Now, obviously, you're taking over an entire roster. You're taking over all the management parts that comes with being the head coach that I haven't done it, so I couldn't sit here and tell you what all those things entail. He's figuring those things out as they go. But that's, to me, the natural progression that occurs, and I think a guy like Coach Leach helps in this scenario because of how he has set up his organization at this point.
It's an interesting point. Obviously, being here with Zach, the defense, I'm sure, is going to look a lot the same, but what might change? Not much.
Not much. Why would you change it? Like I said, I think that's why the question I just answered on, just the alignment piece on how to play defense, how we want to play defense. I believe in it to the depths of my soul that's how we should play here. And so not much will change.
How much does it kind of help you guys recruiting when you can point at all the players that are playing in the Super Bowl on the defensive side of the ball? They're not just players in the game that just made the roster, my practice squad rep. These are real prominent, force to be reckoned with players. I mean, how does that help you guys?
100% helps us. I mean, I appreciate if you do a big story on it someday. So, yeah, make sure you do that, please. But no, it's been great, and we're utilizing that for sure in the recruiting process. You know, Coach Arnett's been real big on when we went out and talked to high school coaches and different people in this state. I mean, it's very important to us that we build our roster with Mississippi kids as our nucleus, and then expand from there in the essentially 5-hour radius. You know, that's our footprint, and we need to try to do everything we can to the best of our abilities to own that footprint.
What was, like, how transparent was kind of Coach Arnett? Can you kind of take us through the process of him not just retaining you, but promoting you and hiring you as DC? Because after the Reliant Quest Bowl, he said that during the process, he realized, like, he couldn't call plays, and you called the plays during the game. What was that process like? Did he just, like, did you expect to be retained, but he was going to make you call plays? Like, what's kind of a timeline of that?
Yeah, I probably couldn't get into all those details, but I knew going into the game there was a chance I was going to call it, you know, so you always, if there's a chance, you better prepare like you were going to. And so I tried to do that, and probably, I'm going to say 3 days before the game, you know, just so much had taken place that he had to handle with all the events, all the different things that was thrown on his plate. You know, he just finally, we're in there one morning in the hotel. I said, hey, you're going to do it. And so we went from there.
All the great talent that's just here in your backyard, how much of an advantage is it for you and this staff?
Well, I think it's a huge advantage. I mean, Mississippi State has always been about in-state talent, developing in-state talent, and there's a proven track record, like you're saying, in the Super Bowl already this year. But a long list prior to that too, right? Of guys that have came here, maybe they're a little under-recruited because it's obviously a little harder to get down to some of these small towns than it is compared to flying into Atlanta, you know, and all of a sudden you hit 10 schools in a day. And I just think this school has always embraced that, and the kids in this state have embraced that, and it's been a good formula.
Before we talk about recruiting or anything like that, you got to be like a little bit of a proud papa with two of your boys in the Super Bowl this week.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about that. Feels good. I'm glad for those guys' success. You know, and it's amazing that it was announced that I was coming back. I heard from both of them. So it is. It's kind of a dad feeling and makes you feel good.
Coach, this is your third trip here. I mean,
Yeah.
this place has become pretty familiar for you during your career. I mean, what's it feel like to be back here for a third time, and what's your thoughts on this place?
It's amazing between me and my wife. I bet we got about 100 texts. Welcome home, welcome back, all of the above. So it's a great feeling. I mean, it does feel like coming home. The people here made me and my family feel more than welcome. My youngest daughter, graduated high school here, so to her, it is home. And she was excited when I told her we were going back. So it's a great feeling. I mean, Mississippi State's been a special place, a good place for me and my family, and we're more than excited to be back.
Coach, you got a pretty veteran group coming back. Obviously, it was huge. Jake Grumedy coming back, announced that he was coming back. I think he lose Charlton and Cam Young, but you got a mixture of some young guys and some veterans.
Yeah, I have a chance to meet those guys a couple of occasions and really excited about what they can do and the direction we're going. Hopefully I can get them a little bit better. But it is a good group. Got a mixture of young guys, old guys. So I'm excited to get to work in those guys.
What changes for you from coaching, like from 4-3 to 3-4, 3-3-5?
You know, just some different techniques. You got to tweak a couple of things here and there, but it's still football. The game up front doesn't change. I mean, you got to play violent. You got to love contact. You got to be able to get off blocks and make plays. So from that standpoint, it's not any different, but it does change some technique things a little bit.
How much can, having those guys, the Super Bowl guys that this program has produced, help in recruiting?
Well, I think it helps. People are aware of Mississippi State and the players in this state has produced. They can't do anything but help. Obviously, the defensive line had a lot of success here before. Recruiting guys, developing guys, guys having a chance to realize their dreams and get to the NFL. So I think it helped. It was all positive. I mean, our guys have been able to go to the next level at all positions and excel. So it hasn't been nothing but problem.
When you look back at, developing Chris Jones and guys like that came in that were super talented but super raw at the same time, I mean, what was that process like, developing those guys into the guys that they become, like Chris?
Well, I think the good thing, and it holds true for Mississippi kids in general, is they come in, they're excited, they're hungry, they want to learn, they want to please. and they want to get better. They understand the value of hard work, what it takes to realize dreams, what it takes to play in this league. And those guys have been historically been hungry for that. And then the biggest thing about those guys, they've been very coachable. They listen to everything you say. They try to do everything you ask them to do. And as a coach, that's all you can.
I remember Chris was like so adamant playing defensive end when he was here, and now he's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. What was that process like, just trying to kind of impart that wisdom on him that could be a spot that he really excelled?
You know, I think the biggest thing as a coach that you have to develop is trust. You know, those guys like Chris, Chris, I had to tell him, I said, Chris, you got to trust me on this. I mean, for your future, this is where it's at. And he did. You know, he bought in and did everything I asked him to do and got a chance to develop and get a little bit better each year. And now he's reaping the benefits of that.
The guys that are in this class, obviously, they were already signed, I think, most of them before you got here. What's your thoughts on what you got? I mean, have you had a chance to really kind of dive into that crew that's coming in?
Well, the incoming guys, no, I've had a chance to meet a couple of them. I've had a chance to watch a little tape on those guys, so I'm excited. There's a lot of different body types, which is good, but I'm excited so we can get those guys on campus. I'm excited to get a chance to work.
Well, when Coach Arnett first talked to you, what was that conversation like? How'd that process go, making you the defensive line coach here again?
Well, I talked a couple of times on the phone, and we actually got together at the coaches convention in Charlotte and had a chance to sit down with him and Coach Brock, and actually spent about 2 hours just talking a little bit philosophy, talking a little bit technique, the direction he was telling me the direction of the program and what he wanted to do, and it was kind of a natural fit, a natural match. And in the span of about 24 hours, everything out, I interviewed, and the next day I got off the job. I had to go back, pack, and the next day I flew down there. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind tour, but excited, like I said earlier, excited to be back.
Got a good mixture of veteran coaches on the staff like you and Coach Hughes and Coach Knox that have been here. And you've been around a lot of head coaches in your years. What's your opinion on Coach Arnett and the job that he's doing so far and the job that he can do?
My time around Coach Arnett has been, he's a guy that's got a vision. He's got a lot of energy. Not a whole lot of BS. He's going to shoot you straight. That's what coaches and kids and everybody he deals with. And I'm excited. For me, personally, to learn a little bit the ins and outs of the 3-3-5 and what we do on defense, it's exciting for me because I'm always trying to learn. You know, I got buddies in the NFL that defensive line coaches that we talk and different techniques, so I'm always trying to improve so I can help my guys improve. But I'm excited, and Coach Arnett's a big reason why.
Kind of the worst kept secret of the staff was the fact that you were going to go on the field. And so kind of when did you know? What was your thoughts when Zach first approached you about it?
Right around that game, you know, obviously with all the transition of everything going on with Coach Leach and Coach Arnett being named in front of the staff. So had a good idea later off bowl game and kept my usual responsibilities and had time for him to, kind of analyze the staff and changes he needed to make, and same time for him to go out and interview some guys and put the whole staff together. So very, very fortunate and excited to be part of this university and continue to be under his leadership.
Now, you're not a unfamiliar face with these guys. These guys know you. Talk about your previous role as an analyst. I mean, how involved were you with these guys? And kind of how does that transition over to being on the field?
Yeah, you know, and it's as you look across, especially the SEC, a lot of off-the-field roles, these analysts, and I know it's up for NCAA regulations of how much they can do and all that. And so, you know, very, very involved with Coach Arnett and Coach Brock on that, as we're put together a defense. And so with Coach Arnett transitioning to safeties last year with him being a traditional front guy, came in the room and, bounce ideas off of him and just, kind of figure out what he wanted and what was important for him and just helped him out that way, along with Coach McBath and kind of looked at the entire secondary as well. And so when the opportunity was set field, it was him.
Let's back up a little bit. Coming off, what was it like getting on the field to stay and then going off the field? I mean, how do you feel like maybe that helped you in your development as a coach?
Yeah, every situation is different, right? In any team or organization, what is your role, and you try to do your job at the best ability, and try to do your job better than it's ever been done before. So, I was on the field I was off the field when I first started for 4 years, and you wait for that first opportunity, and started at Southeastern Louisiana, and then went back to Texas Tech, was a safeties coach there when they hired the 10th assistant, and then got on I had the entire second year at Texas State for 3 years, and then when this opportunity presented, I was off the field. Every situation's different, but it was good to kind of take a step back and look at more schematically on things, and not involved as much in recruiting. So you actually more football conversations and kind of wearing hats all over the place. So it was good for me, and obviously, like anything, you live and learn, and you continue to adapt and grow, and obviously in a good situation there.
Speaking of recruiting, because of the fact you have been here, you're very familiar with the Mississippi State story. Now transitioning into recruiter, how much does that help you to be able to sell Mississippi State, that you've kind of seen the behind the scenes part of it?
Yeah, obviously this is a great place and the best league there is in college football. So, we embrace the expectations of this being a defensive school. And as you guys can tell at the lineup in Super Bowl this year, a lot of guys have come through here in the history and tradition, and looking forward to continue to put guys in the NFL. And so that kind of leads probably into more questions of the area of recruiting, the footprint, and sweep the state of Mississippi and then bordering states of Louisiana and Alabama, some into Georgia. But there's plenty of good football here around the state, and as you could tell, our signing classes and kind of the plan moving forward of what we look for, and the kind of what our identity here is at Mississippi State, and that's guys that love the game, that have a high ceiling, that are tough, raw, nasty, gritty, and everything that Coach Arnett replicates. That's what we're trying to develop here at Mississippi State.
You mentioned the state there. Just how much of an emphasis has that been, for this staff with recruiting the state and finding success, with the talent that's come, out of the state?
Yeah, and I think you really dive down, and we do studies all the time to look at what's going to do for us, who's produced, and as we really looked into it from good staff, coming in, and that's human nature, kind of recruiting the areas you were from. But now, obviously, as you look at it, we're, you drive 3 or 4 hour radius around Starkville, and those are the players we're going to end up getting. So that's been a huge emphasis of the state of Mississippi and then the bordering states of what we can develop, and we're developing our program. We understand that, we know that, and there's a lot of raw talent around here that have all the intangibles, and it's our job as coaches to kind of project them and get them here, and then put the weight on them and the strength and conditioning, the nutrition, and develop them into the players. And as you could tell, like I was saying, from the guys in the Super Bowl this weekend, guys that come in and put all the effort into it, and how high their ceiling could be. And so we understand that. That's our identity, and that's kind of about what we're going.
Yeah, I just asked Coach Bradley this question, but what was it that first got you into football? What got you into coaching when you were just a kid?
Yeah, I think every coach, you ask them what got them in, is because when I've been up to playing, right? And we still love the game, and it's just the everyday of getting up and chasing something, and not just working an 8 to 5, but getting up and having the hunger of, continue to improve, to work with people to get better, and obviously the schematics of game planning and going out and seeing kids and evaluating, developing. And so just the locker room, it's all, that's something that I truly enjoy, and being around the kids, and that's why we do it.
What's it like kind of working with Matt Brock, and I guess how confident are you in his ability to step up in little bit of a bigger role this year?
Yeah, and I go back with Matt at Texas Tech when we were both quality control guys together, and so I always had a close relationship with him, and knew, kind of cut from the same cloth of, guys that are overachievers. Everything's ever been easy. Always, working hard, trying to prove people wrong, and so that's kind of been our connection, and I've always stayed in touch. And I think the sky's the limit with Coach Brock, and obviously he's learned a lot from Coach Arnett, and he showed pretty quick, him calling the bowl game, and Coach Arnett being involved in so many other things in that situation. But with Coach Arnett being a defensive guy, he's always going to be around and be involved in all the game plan and everything else. And so you try to bring your ideas and everything to the table, but obviously at the end of the day, whatever's said and done in there, you execute it, try to get your kids to do it the best they can.
Right, I know he's been wearing suits a bit more often, but what's it been like watching, Coach Arnaz step into the head coaching role and kind of embracing everything that comes with that?
Yeah, and I thought about it the other day. This is probably the third one I've been around this kind of first year or stepping into I think it was with Coach Kingsbury, his second year as a head coach, and you see the transition, right? And that's the same thing from anybody of getting a first-time position coach, first-time coordinator, first-time head coach. You're not really ready for it until you just step in it and do it, and you learn on the run. But I think, obviously with him, he's extreme leadership, right? I mean, he's a guy that knows how to acquire and develop talent, and I know he can establish and then implement a culture, and that's toughness and the grittiness. But I'm biased, right? He's a defensive guy, and I think defensive guys are always thinking ahead of what's next, what's the worst that can happen, and trying to have plan A, plan B, and plan C based off what the situation presents. And so I think the sky's the limit, but he fits this place. I think all you guys that have talked with him, been around him for years, of the toughness, they're playing with relentless effort. That's our identity here at Mississippi State, and we're going to own it and thrive on it.
How eager are you maybe to kind of take a deep breath and say, okay, let's kind of reset before spring football?
Yep, no, I'm excited about the break a little bit, but it needed to be done. We had to push through. We had a later bowl game, which is what you want, right? We had to get right back in recruiting with the recruiting calendar now, and we got some big pickups, and which is what we need moving forward. And so when you're in it, you really don't think about it. But now that we're at the end of it, I'm a little relieved, and I'm glad for a few days old.
Is it one of those situations, too, do you kind of look back and think, holy smokes, all this really happened to us?
Yeah. No, it's been crazy. Been a crazy year. So, and to have some time off to sit back and reflect and kind of enjoy what we've done, but also kind of compartmentalize everything is gonna be good for us.
The year ago, too, is you've been with Mike Leach pretty much your whole career when you weren't in the NFL, and so you've never really gone through a situation quite like this. What's it like as assistant coach to go through a coaching change?
I'll tell you this, it helps that the coaching change was in-house because, I worked closely with Zach on the defense for the last 3 years, so we have a great relationship, and how it happened that way made it a lot easier. So for me, it really wasn't as a head coaching change, but in terms of, day-to-day, how things go, it wasn't really that change for guys on defense wasn't a big deal. How it happened was probably the most shocking part, and obviously for everyone, and but could be a better guy to take the reins and lead us in the future.
Looking at recruiting, you got a ton of new guys in your room. You got some transfers, got some high school guys. You got a pretty good mix there. How pleased are you with your recruiting class?
I'm fired up, man. I'm really thrilled. I am. It was at one point where, in November, you're going, man, if I could pull off all of these dudes. I mean, you're talking about a stacked class. You never, you're going after 5 guys. You figure you get 3 out of 5, and we hammered it home and got all 5, and so it went not really according to plan, but our best the way we wished it would go, and but we're fired about all of them. They're all great players and great kids. They're going to add something to the room and to this university.
I'm sure it helps being able to point to Martin Emerson and now Emmanuel Forbes and say, hey, you come here, you can be that guy. I mean, how much does that help you?
Oh, it's huge. Now, let me tell you, it's starting to help now because they're leaving. Guys can see it, but especially with the transfer portal, a lot of guys were scared to come. Not scared, but they, the competition, who they are and what they've done. They know that they come in and we playing behind them, but now they see them moving on. We can have a little more success in the portal. But for the high school guys, it's huge, and they love it. And we can recruit high school at a high clip with what they've done. The reputation they built for themselves on the field, for this team, for the defense, for our cornerback room. So it definitely helped in that aspect.
What do you maybe want to challenge your guys with between now and spring practice? What do you want them working on to kind of get prepared?
Yeah, growth. I mean, in every aspect, I think above the neck, we talk about it all the time, is so important at our position, the way we play, the way I coach. Maturing above the neck, understanding situational football a little bit better, understanding yourself a little bit better, right? Reviewing all the things that you did wrong last season and improving upon them. So I think there's a lot of growth to be had, and I think all those guys are chomping at the bit to get it done.
Well, what kind of advice will you give Forbes between now and the draft? And how involved will you? I know you guys are really close. How involved will you be with him between now and then?
He knows he can call me anytime. And sometimes it's unsolicited advice, but what I just tell him is, man, keep doing what you do, right? Go with your gut and always outwork everybody. Well, yeah, I outwork everybody. The rest of it seems to work itself out.
One of the things I think about too is you've been there.
Yeah.
Like you played the National Football League for a few years, and now you're putting players in the National Football League. So when you walk into a locker room or a living room, you got some credibility there. How much does that help you, maybe as a recruiter and a coach, when you can just say, you don't have to take my word for it, you can look at my film?
Yeah, no, it helps tremendous because you can say what you want, but like the age of social media, you got the graphics, you got the proof is in the pudding, as my grandmother would say, right? And you can show people this is how we get it done, right? We'll take you and we can make that happen as long as you commit, right? And we got the formula, and it's working pretty well. So it definitely goes a long way.
Coach Mealy, obviously been a lot of changes around here since December, but you're still in the same position, same place. What unique or comforting, or how's it for you?
It's exciting just to kind of build on some of the success we had last year and kind of carry on the foundation and kind of legacy that Coach Leach left, and get a chance to do that for Coach Arnett and the kind of new staff and some new guys to work with. So football's ever changing, and it's change is good, keeps you on your toes, and excited to kind of hit the ground running.
Got 3 guys already here. Punter from Australia, Keelan Cremens. You got Nicholas Barmara, transfer kicker from UCLA, and then older punter Andrew Osteen from Central Florida. I guess start with Keelan. I guess it's kind of a unique recruitment there. It's not like a guy that you could just pop in and visit and in-home visit. Just how did that take place?
Several chats with the old bloke overseas there down under. So really mature guy and focused and driven to really be good at his position. And played some Australian rules football, played some cricket, but really good athlete and has a big leg. Work with their guys over there, Pro Kick Australia. Does a great job kind of pumping those guys out. So excited to kind of get him out in the field and make sure he gets used to all the surroundings, not just football-wise, but over here in the States and in Starkville. So so far, so good with him.
About Nicholas, take us through that.
Yeah, Nick's got a good pedigree. His brother plays in the NFL. It was a first-round draft pick. And Nick has a big resume. He was kicked for several years at UCLA. And I think it was a couple tweaks here and there. I think he's really going to be a weapon for us in the field goal game because just an extra point guy and has capability to kick off as well.
There were some other guys that are already here, walk-ons that you expect to be in that mix, whether it's punter or place kicker or kickoff.
Yeah, no. So Andrew Osteen coming from UCF is a guy that has almost 200 career punts under his belt. On top of that, really just a phenomenal holder. He's done that for the last several seasons. So that's the job I kind of see him coming in right away and being the guy to beat there. Jordan Kennedy is a guy that returns from last year, field goal kicker. And I see him competing for that job as well. Hudson Hollebeck's a punter, kickoff guy. That's got really a talented leg and really long levers, athletic from down the road in the Memphis area, Collierville. So he's another guy that's kind of plugging away as well.
Not that there wasn't a lot of hand-wringing and some nerve-wracking with your return crew. They both entered the transfer portal, but they both came back, which is rare in college football. But you got Tulu and Xavion back. Your thoughts on having that duo back?
And they're exciting on the field and off the field after this offseason. But now, honestly, I think they're two of the best guys in America, and they're both on our team, which is phenomenal. And I think Xavion got better and better as the year went along, and I think Tulu is going to continue to do what he does. So having those two guys back is huge.
So other guys you expect to maybe compete in there at punt returner or kickoff returner?
Yeah, there's some new guys that I'd like to take a look at. Some guys already on campus. Creed Whitmore, Justin Brown, or some young guys that kind of come to mind. Jacoby Belazar as well. Guys that can really run. Have good speed to them and good ball skills. Got some some transfer running backs in and that type of thing. So those guys can also compete at kind of that off returner job. And Simeon's back there as well. He kind of gives some depth. So I feel like there's a pretty good crew behind those two guys.
What was your guys' message to Xavion, trying to get him to come back? You're first in the country here. You go somewhere else, you're not going to be first in the country. We're playing against you. So, just let's come back and build on what we started and excited to have them both back.
Yeah. Yeah. When you look at your kicking game, what do you think of, with Nick from UCLA and the guys that you guys?
Yeah, no, Nick's a guy that's a veteran, and he's done it for a long time. He had a huge game last year on film against Oregon and knocked them off. He was 4 for 4 against them in a ranked win, and I think he's got the potential to really develop and really become a really consistent weapon for us.
Is there, can you use, we kicked the field goal to win the bowl game and get to 9 wins. Can you use that in recruiting?
That's helpful. And Coach Arnett actually spotted it up for us into the middle of the field and gave us that opportunity to make a little air quotes, make it an easier kick. So when kickers kind of see that, I think, and you have a coach with that kind of mindset, I think that's helpful.
What do you think about the punting group that you have there?
Yeah, there's just a really talented and then experienced on top of it. Now Keelan's coming from down under, but he is an older guy. He's 21, so he's a little more mature. And then on top of that, Andrew has almost 200 career punts under his belt. So I think between those two guys, we got two consistent weapons there as well. Avion's just coming into his own a little bit. I think from first time he caught a punt to the end of the season, he was really attacking punts, in the Egg Bowl where he wanted the ball in his hands, wanted to make plays for us. So yeah, I see a lot of improvement for him, on the horizon. And Tulu's, it's kind of the same thing. I do what you did, and now there's 1 or 2 plays out there from last year I think that we can capitalize on it as well. So sky's the limit for both those guys.
Both of those guys went into the portal and then decided to come back to Mississippi State. What's the re-recruiting process like for a guy who goes into the portal, but then you end up eventually getting there?
Like you said, listen, we have the best 2 return men in the country. If you leave us, you're not going to be the 2 best return men in the country, and we're going to come after you. If you're playing across the other side of the field, but in all seriousness, I think they enjoy playing with each other, part of it, and they kind of feed off each other a little bit. So coming here and then just being able to develop on the season they had last year, both of them, kind of uphold that standard that they set. So they're both excited to get back out there and return those kicks.
How much does it make it easier when you have guys like Xavion and Tulu who have had the success on special teams, and then you have an incoming freshman who's kind of given a special teams role, maybe isn't playing offense or defense as much? I guess, does it make it easier to be like, hey, special teams is serious? Look at the things that we've been able to do.
Yeah, and I think there's a standard then set, right? If you plug a guy in on one of those units, and you kind of flash that meeting in the spring, yeah, we were number 1 in America on kick return. We're asking you to do a job here, and you better uphold your part of this deal. So I think guys understand the magnitude of the importance of it. You kind of break down those charts at the end of the year about field position and leading to points and those types of things, and all of those obviously go into helping win a football game. So yeah, it's definitely helpful. Punt return guys, we really started to enjoy being out there and blocking for Xavion. Xavion wanted the ball in his hands, that type of thing as well. So I think it's a huge recruiting tool to get those new guys on those units and help us out.
In this signing class, do you see a guy who could be potentially a good returner for you? The name that will pop out to me is Seth Davis.
Yeah, and Seth's just from the production he's had over the course of his career, so we'll get a look at kick return. Also, Cree Whitmore is a guy that's kind of a do-it-all guy that can probably do some of that as well. Justin Brown was a both sides of the ball guy. So I think there's a lot of young guys that will get an opportunity to kind of see what they have, start developing their skills, because you have some older guys ahead of them. But, Simeon Price is the guy that's always back there for us a little bit on kick return. So that's going to be a good group of young guys coming in. Another guy that's a little more of a stock there running back that can play off return on kick return. So I think we've got some good depth there.
You've been around here for a few years now, I guess. What's kind of how beneficial do you see it being, Coach Arnett assembling the staff with so many guys that have ties to Mississippi?
Yeah, huge. Yeah, it's huge. We want to keep the home state kids home, and having all those guys that know all the lay of the land is a big deal. So they have all those relationships that are already built, and the more of those guys we can get, the better. Tulu's from right down the road. We get more guys like him, that will be in good shape. Yeah.